Okay, hello there. Welcome to part 8 of Pathwork 2.0. This is where it gets good, in my opinion, because this time around we're going to be talking about conflict resolution. And why this is so important is that if you're trying to build a community, which you want to do on a practical level just so that you can function and exist, but you also want to do from the point of view of unitive perspective or unitive consciousness, because bringing people together in relationships of two and in larger groupings is what unitive consciousness is all about, and it's preparation for merger, which is what the whole point of the whole growth process here on Earth is all about. So conflict resolution is, if you're trying to create community, conflict resolution is the key to that, because conflict itself is absolutely inevitable. Okay, there's no way you're going to get bunches of people together without there being some clash of disharmonies. Okay, without there being clash between the disharmonious vibrations that one person is putting out and the ones that another person is putting out, because that's where we're at right now at our stage in development. There's nothing we can do about that. So resolution is the key, and let's talk about the existing models, or the kind of historical models. You might have something different in your community, but if you've been in the United States, I think that the models I'm going to talk about are the ones that you have probably seen, and I'm going to try to explain to you why they're grounded in self-centeredness and why they're doomed to failure. And then I'm going to show you a different conflict resolution model, which is more grounded in a unitive perspective, and which, if followed from that kind of an intention, works much, much better. I know this because I've seen it in practice many, many, many times. So let's start with the historical perspective, what we have had so far. And to help us understand this whole thing, I'm just going to tell a little story about two people getting into a conflict. Okay, so let's assume that we've got a husband and a wife, for instance, and let's assume that one day the husband kind of bursts into the room where the wife is and says, "Where's the tape measure?" Okay, so now let's assume that that triggers in the wife the belief that she is being criticized for not putting the tape measure where it belongs. Okay, and that therefore she wants to defend along the lines of, I don't know, I put it where it's always supposed to go, or whatever, okay? And let's assume that that is historically based on Dad, okay? That Dad was very critical. Dad might have had issues about, feeling like he needed to be in control, and like his environment needed to be orderly, and maybe he needed the kids to be quiet, and maybe, she took on that she had to be perfect in order to keep him stable. All right, so let's say that's her issue. And let's say that the husband is coming from, he's feeling that there's chaos in his life, and he's feeling that his needs are not getting met, and that he's put upon. And he has just spent 15 minutes looking for this tape measure, and he can't find it. And so he's essentially angry at life, angry at the universe, that he ends up putting a lot of energies into endeavors that don't satisfy him, that don't meet his needs. And what he's really looking for in putting out this "where's the tape measure" energy is he wants to vent that frustration. And secretly underneath, he wishes he could get some kind of comfort. All right? And that's where maybe on some subtle level, he might be kind of putting out a little bit of a manipulation or something towards the wife, in the sense that if he could get her to give him a little bit of this, he'd be happy. Okay? But he's not going to get that back from her. Instead, he's going to get this back. Okay? Some explanation of why he's wrong to be upset about the tape measure and so forth. Okay? So this isn't so much the kind of conflict that would happen in a community setting, but I think it's a good illustration of various. It's a good foundation for looking at the various styles of conflict resolution that we could apply to this and that have been applied in pathwork setting. So let's start with the most primitive, which is the dump, okay? The emotional dump. So in the emotional dump, the wife is just going to launch, all right? I'm sick and tired of being criticized all the time. I have a right to live my own life without people judging me all the time, etc., and so forth. Okay? This, at one time, was part of the landscape in the pathwork community. Okay? I know this anecdotally, and I also know this from experience. Okay? That this was one style of how to approach a conflict. And obviously, the intention behind here is to relieve pressure. And that's the dumper who's getting that benefit, okay? And the dumpee, the effect on the dumpee is going to be to raise defensiveness, right? Now, the dumpee is going to feel, in this case, let's say it's the husband, okay, and I don't mean to make any generalizations about wives and husbands or men and women or anything like that. As you'll see, both of these are people and can be flawed people, and you know, so I'm just using this as an example. The husband in this case is going to get defensive, and he's going to explain, you know, how he's a victim and how she's not being fair to him. And the two of them are going to fight more, and they're going to go off. Either they're going to get really angry with each other, or one of them's going to stomp off and walk away. And the end result of this is going to be separation, right? They're not going to really know each other better. The truth of what her struggle is, which is that she feels inadequate in terms of satisfying dad, and probably doesn't feel like he loved her enough because she was never able to live up to this kind of impossible demand that he was putting out. That's not going to come to the surface. And the fact that he's having trouble managing his own needs, and that he, you know, gets himself involved in things that aren't rewarding to him, and that he is looking for an external solution, that he's looking for comfort, that's not going to come to the surface either. They're not going to each see that about themselves, and also from the unitive consciousness perspective, it's important that they're not going to see it about each other, so they're not going to grow, they're not going to come away from conflict and in towards merger, which is the whole point of the unitive perspective, okay? So this, you know, and it's pretty obvious, but this as a means of conflict resolution is doomed to create separation.